Hey guys, this is Mike with Open It and Play, and today we're going to be looking at the Marvel Legends Gamerverse Juggernaut. This is one big bad dude. I did open this and I kind of posed it around a little bit, so it may not look like this in most packages. I realized on the Silver Surfer review I made a mistake, and the little slip that tells the figure's name came out when I was like trying the third or fourth time reviewing it. But anyways, with this guy, there is moisture in the package, but that's because I'm trying to heat these guys up by putting them on the hot carpet here at the school since the room's so cold. But we'll see what this guy looks like on the side. This is the guy from the Marvel Superheroes not War of the Gyms. Marvel Superheroes, the fighting game back in the 90s. That was one of the games that really helped get me into Marvel. It was just really good timing with several things that were happening at that time. The 90s Spider-Man cartoon, Iron Man and Fantastic Four cartoons, the Marvel Superheroes fighting game, and of course the X-Men cartoon helped too, though it was maybe reruns by the time I got into it. But anyways, this guy is an expensive figure, but he's a really good figure, I think. So I opened him when I got him. I was too keen to get him, so I did already take him out, play with him a bit, or try to pose him at least, I should say. But this guy's accessories number only 3, but because of his heft, we're gonna try to forgive him for that. So you have these alternate hands. So one is the very large open hand. This is based on that game that I just said, the fighting game. And here is the second hand for his alternate right hand. It's kind of also open, but it's almost like pinching or grabbing. So, and then they do have these little knuckle duster pieces. And I think if you were to try to take these off, just a moment, I'm going to try to get this to zoom in here. Okay, focus here. It's not really a zoom in, but if you took this off, this side seems to look normal, but under here that you do have a line, but it's not too dramatic. It's not too strange looking. So if you are a capable sculptor or even a beginner sculptor, you may be able to sculpt just a little bit of extra skin in there and then paint that, and you could use this as an alternate hand for another big figure you might have. But you know, that's if you're willing to give up this guy's like few accessories. And then you have this nice punching effect or ramming effect, and it plugs in via these little bumps that go over the knuckle duster part of the hand right here and here. So you pop out the knuckle duster from these fists, and then after that you place this on. We're going to show you real quick just because that's the easy thing to do. So here he is. He's a very big guy. We'll get him standing up here and we'll get him measured. So if I put this behind him, this is going to be a hard one to do. When we bring him over, you can see he stands, just over 9 inches tall. So he's a big guy. Just about 23 centimeters exactly, it looks like. Is that right? Yeah, about 23 centimeters exactly. It's kind of hard to show for the angle, so I'm trying to line this up with the camera. But yeah, he is over 9 inches tall. Big guy. Okay, and let's show you that thing before I forget. We'll take this off by pulling on this tab. So you can see there's a little hole in each side. And then we're just gonna, he is very hefty. Just gonna push this over the top one side and the other. Wow, it is hard to do. I'll just take off his hand because his hand comes off rather easily. Okay, I'll try doing it this way instead. Okay, that way it seems to work easier. Start on the pinky side and then push it onto this. And look, I didn't even get it perfectly. There we go. Okay, once you get it on, then you can see you have kind of a range of movement. So if you're posing it to hit another guy, you do have a little bit of options in this way. Okay, I'm going to put it onto the figure so we can kind of imagine what that looks like. It's not going to be posed very dramatically, but just as an example. Kind of like that. Boom. Okay. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cleverly designed effect so you can actually port it on and keep it on. But yeah, it is pretty hefty, so this whole guy overall is really hefty. Okay, we've got his arms back on now, and we'll get him posed back here. Okay, so if we take a look under the hood, he has one of the simplest necks ever. It's kind of a no neck. He does have the hinge and ball peg like usual, but of course he can't make use of most of this range. And then this is what it looks like on the inside of there. So he doesn't really have a full head. But I saw an alternate head on eBay. Alternate head on eBay that looked really cool. That was the unhelmeted head. I would love to get one of those if I'm able to, but you know, you need some chances to pose Kane Marco Juggernaut without his helmet. So if he had like a little tiny, I don't know, beer or something he could be holding to drink. But anyway, let's take a look at his posability. So these hands do come off very easily because when you pull this forward, it acts as a lever to press against this, and then it just naturally works this out of the hole, or out of the plug out of the hole. So it's kind of disappointing. If they shaved off a little bit of this, it might not do that quite as bad. So that's kind of a design flaw, but it's not the worst thing. This way it tends to work fine, but this way is when it starts to lever itself off. You can't make full use of that joint, I think. At least in my opinion. It's not quite as capable as what it's supposed to be, I think. Okay, sorry. And let's look. He's got the butterfly joints that will go back quite a ways, about that far. It does start to gap here in the front, if you can see that. If you go very far, you can see a little bit of a gap, and then forward quite far too. His arms will hinge up to here. Not too bad for such a big guy, but of course it's not the perfect design. And then his hand came off again. For his for his bicep, he doesn't exactly have a bicep cut. He has more like this floating piece, and then this part also twists. So you can kind of do them together to give him more options, but it is a bit tight and a bit limited. Sorry, it's not in focus. Come on, phone. Okay. Yeah, so the range of movement is limited for these joints because he's such a big guy. They might have been able to work a little bit more out of that, but it's just the way he's designed. So, okay, and then you do have this diaphragm joint, which goes side to side really well, forward pretty well, back pretty well. But as far as twisting, it's really springy. So you may want to use some shock oil or dish like dish soap, I guess, is supposed to work as a pretty good lubricant. Boeing illegally uses it on their planes that are crashing out of the sky recently. So I guess it works as a pretty good lubricant, but you know, you wouldn't want to bet your life on it. But that's what you get when you fly with Boeing nowadays. Company controlled by stock. Anyways, not the engineers are in control anymore for Boeing. It's a sad state of affairs. But anyways, if you lubricate that just a little bit, it may work better. But he doesn't have a waist cut, but that may be a good thing based on his size, because it would really look awkward if it was turned sideways. His legs will kick up to about here. You may be able to get a little more if you twist this, but then, you know, you have to sort of modify it to make it work with that, which doesn't look too bad, but also could start to look strange. Okay, and then he does have that thigh cut, though it's really high up on the hip, and then it has this overlapping structure, which is not in focus. Okay, and then his joints here will get just that much range, but it does pose side to side. No boot cut because of that side to side here. I would think they could give him boot cut because he's such a big boy, but they didn't give him that. So, but then hinge back this far, hinge forward this far, and then you do have this toe articulation, which is pretty sturdy. It might get loose over time, but it's pretty sturdy right out of the box at least. I'm going to see if I can get him into a little bit of a pose. So this guy is not cheap, but I do think he's a really nicely done figure. I wish that some of the other big figures would get as much love as they put into this guy. Hulk, I'm looking at you. I don't know why they can't give us a great Hulk. Hulk doesn't have to be this big, don't get me wrong. But man, they need to give us a redesigned Hulk. It's just one of the failures of the company as far as I'm concerned at this point. But so anyways, guys, I would highly recommend this figure. The Silver Surfer is great, but this guy is just like fantastic. For me, you know, the huge, like big figure that's well designed just can't really be beat. So it's just a very impressive figure to like play around with or pose. And since they gave him these alternate hands, you do have some options for how you can put him on display with your other figures. So just a very fun figure. You know what? I'll show you one comparison before we go. Though I don't really have the X-Men here, I can show you this big armadillo figure next to him. So Armadillo was a big guy. He was my biggest guy for a little while, but Diamond Select figures, of course, are bigger, but here is a show of how big this Juggernaut is. This Armadillo side by side with him. We do have a little bit of a overlap here on the cardboard, but that's pretty close to the right alignment. It's kind of crazy how big this Juggernaut is. But anyways, okay, thank you guys for joining me this look at Kane Marco the Juggernaut, and I hope that you can get him if you want to get him. I know he's pretty expensive. Hopefully there's enough of him produced. They will get cheaper eventually, but he was high on my priority list, so that's why I already got him. So, but okay, thank you guys, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.